Hello and welcome back to the Survival Horror Guide, a show where we play and then review survival horror games. We rate them on their fear factor, and we give them an overall score. Finally, we send it over to the series' totally arbitrary rating system to see how they stack up against the rest of the survival horror competition. First, let me start off the show by saying I'm sorry. We've been neglecting this show for far too long, but we're back. It's October, it's the spooky season, and we're gonna kick off the return by checking out a game I played earlier this year, and that's The Suffering.
Everything's under control.
Is it? Truly a game from its time. This was put out in March 2004, and yeah, there's a certain brand of angst to it. You can tell when this game was in development, there was some new metal in the air. You can tell that they played Bring Me to Life in that office once or twice. The game starts off with our protagonist being locked up in prison, which is Alcatraz-esque, located on its own isolated island. Our main character, a silent protagonist, rocking some sweet side chops, who displays not a single ounce of emotion during all of the craziness that ensues once you start the game. And his name is Torque. That's right. Torque has been sent to prison for murdering his wife and kids. Not exactly you'd call a redeemable main character that you can really root for, but over the course of the story, you'll learn a bit about his backstory, and you can start to piece together a bit of what really happened. Plus, during the playthrough, you can make certain decisions that affect your morality, which will determine what ending you'll get.
Not a hell with protocol.
But it's definitely not a narrative-first, story-focused game. It's like, let's take this violent, badass inmate and put them in this crazy situation. We'll write the story later. And you know, it kind of works. This really is an action game with a horror aesthetic, and it jumps straight to it. You arrive at the prison, some guys in the cell next to you start talking trash, and then monsters just start attacking. Makes sense.
It's in here! Help me!
What's interesting is in the first 30 minutes to an hour, it really does have a horror game-like build-up. You're given just a knife to start with, then eventually a pistol with limited ammo. You'll get a flashlight and need to worry about finding batteries to keep it powered on. I was like, oh damn, there's inventory management? Are we playing a survival horror game here? And then all of that just gets tossed out the window. Before long, you're running around with a sawed-off and a Tommy gun wreaking havoc. Crazy turret sequences and all. And you know, I really don't have a problem with any of that, because it's actually pretty fun. I played the GOG, the good old games version, and it looked and played pretty damn well, considering it's a 17-year-old game. Though it definitely has some 2004 game design that rears its head in every now and then. It's a largely linear game, yet I still got confused on where the game wanted me to go several times. It took me way too long to figure out that I was supposed to climb this cliff, for instance. I swear we tried this! We tried to jump up here, but we couldn't. We could not. Then there's the enemies. You're basically fighting the same carbon copies of enemies over and over again, which is fine. I mean, games today still do that. But some of the enemies are simply not fun to fight against. These little green bastards are simply the worst. The game's actually got a first-person and third-person perspective that you can swap between on the fly. I found myself playing in third person most of the time, mainly because the first-person field of view is so narrow you can't see anything, and you end up just getting disoriented and looking around a lot. It almost made me nauseous. On the fear factor scale, this game is a 6. It's weird because it probably starts at like an 8, and then as the action gets dialed up, the horror kinda takes a back seat. Not to say there's not still some good moments, there certainly are. There's some jump scares that legit got me. The game does this thing where it will occasionally flash or pop up on the screen, something that's meant to scare you, I guess. And it's a little startling at first, but after that it kinda just gets annoying. Because it feels like they're just random, there's no build up or anything to it, it just feels kinda cheap. Overall, this game is a 7. It's very solid. I don't know if it's a game that I'd recommend everyone go back and play, but it's impressive, especially for when it was released, and I definitely had some fun with it. Now taking it over to the series' totally arbitrary rating system, The Suffering shoots its way onto the list at a fitting number 13 spot. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. We're gonna get our asses back to work on the Survival Horror Guide. Of course, let me know if there's any games that you'd like to see covered on this series in the future. Let me know if you've played The Suffering and where you would rank it on the series' totally arbitrary rating system. Thanks so much for watching this one, guys. Peace.